Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and there was no game last night. What am I doing back today talking about what? Who knows what? Well, there's two things that I want to talk about. One is the injury news with Zach Wheeler that came out yesterday, and two is why I am remaining optimistic about the rest of this season. And that does not include that I'm a crazy person, which I will agree with. But I want to talk about it today on a shortened, hopefully, show, and we'll get right into it. So I'm wearing a shirt today that says "I do believe," right? And it's not. I didn't wear it on purpose. I have a system with my shirts. Where I put the clean ones, I put the new clean ones on the bottom of the pile, and they sort of work their way through. So I'm sort of always alternating my shirts. I'm not always wearing the same ones over and over again. But this shirt today is particularly relevant because I'm going to be talking about the fact that I do still believe in this team in 2019. And yes, that probably makes me insane. I'll agree to that. But it doesn't change the fact that I do still believe that there is something to look forward to in this second half. How can I say that, you probably ask? This team has underperformed so badly in the first half. They're a terrible team. They're 9 games under 500 now, and whatever, okay? I can't dispute any of that. What's past is prologue, right? That's what I'm saying about what happened so far this year. And here's what else I'm saying, right? 9 games under 500 right now, the Mets are. Look at the schedule, if you wouldn't mind, over the next 3 weeks or so, 3.5 weeks or so. The Mets will play 25 games over those next 3 weeks. And in those 25 games, 20 of those games will be against teams with records under 500. So we've got 2 with the Twins tonight and tomorrow. I'll talk more about those in a second. And then in August, I think August 9th, the Mets have 3 with the Nationals. So bookending there with the plus 500 teams. In the middle of that, four away with the Giants, 3 at home against San Diego, 3 at home against Pittsburgh, 3 away at the White Sox, 3 away at Pittsburgh, 4 at home against Miami. 9 games under with that schedule can very easily become 2 games over, 3 games over. And if you agree with that as a possibility, then the next thing I'd like you to do is look at the standings, and look at the wild card standings, and look at what a record of 2 or 3 games over 500 right now would do to that those wild card standings. It would put the Mets right in the thick of things for that second wild card spot. Am I being ridiculously optimistic? Yes. But isn't that the point of being a fan? You know, do we really watch this team hoping that they're going to lose? You know, with a completely negative approach to being a fan? I know I don't. I can't. I can't be negative. I have to be positive. And you know, this leads to the second part of the conversation, which is, you know, Zach Wheeler yesterday was put on the injured list with shoulder fatigue. And what that does to his value on the trade market is questionable. It doesn't appear as though this injury is anything significant. Like, that's number one. So it isn't like he, you know, tore his rotator's cuff, or he needs Tommy John surgery again or something like that. But it is a sort of a red flag to any of these teams that might be considering acquiring him, because they're going to be asked to give up something significant in return. And that is my point to how the Mets should be playing the trade deadline. Considering the next 20 games, the next 25 games, 20 of them being against really bad teams. I mean, bad teams as bad as the Mets, right? Unless the Mets get a really good offer for Zach Wheeler, they really should hang on to him for the second half. They really should. There's no reason not to. And the reason I say that is because if Zach Wheeler isn't if a team doesn't make a deal for Zach Wheeler or make an offer for Zach Wheeler that blows you off the table, right? You have just as good a chance to get significant returns with the draft pick that you'll get after qualifying him an offer this offseason. And he might be signing someplace else. Or he might sign the 1-year qualifying offer deal. Who knows? But all I'm saying there is, track record-wise, just look over the last 2 years, and I said this yesterday, the Mets unloaded a whole bunch of Major League players in 2017, and in return, they got jack shit, right? They got a bunch of guys who have not contributed in any shape, form, or fashion, have been disappointments. How's Jacob Rhame working out for us? I mean, other than the fireworks that were attached to him with the whole Rhys Hoskins thing, what has he done as a Met? He did get a save earlier this year, if I remember correctly. Or maybe that was last year in L.A. Against the Dodgers. But it doesn't matter. What are we doing? You know, why are we going to trade away a quality pitcher who, if this team does what I think it can do over the next 25 days or 25 games, this quality pitcher will be way more valuable to the Mets right now than some middling prospect that we'll get from someone else's system, someone who'll probably never make an impact. And the draft pick that we would get as the qualifying offer is, if the qualifying offer is not accepted and if he signs someplace else, the draft pick will more than likely be more valuable than that middling prospect that they would get in exchange for Zach Wheeler right now. So these two things work in tandem here, right? Being competitive in the second half, creeping into a second wild card position, which I still believe is possible. It's not a stretch. If this bullpen figures itself out, this team absolutely can win 15 out of 20 games. There's no question in my mind that it's possible. If the Mets are able to do that, they're over 500, peeps. They're over 500 by 6 games. It is possible. It is possible. So let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks. This series with the Twins is going to be difficult. We knew that. It's a 2-game set. It's in Minnesota. And then the Mets travel out to San Francisco to play the Giants, who are also not very good. But if the Mets can split with the Twins, I think that sets a good tone for this very important stretch over the next 3 weeks. Again, am I being nuts? Being so optimistic? Probably. But I'll accept it. I'm fine with it. Okay? What do you guys think? How crazy am I to think that this is a possibility? Am I completely bonkers to think this way? Let me know what you think. I'd be curious. You can do that in the comments below, like my friend Matt Wax does on the YouTubes, or you can follow me on Twitter and comment there at Mr_Met. So, thanks for listening and watching today. I appreciate it. I will more than likely not be back tomorrow. I have a dentist appointment in the morning, and I'm probably not going to feel like talking. So I'll probably not be back tomorrow. Instead, I'll come back on Thursday morning to recap what'll be the completion of the 2-game set in Minnesota. Which, as I said, I think is a huge, it's very important for the Mets to split that 2-game series with the Twins. So if they're able to do that, I'm going to feel really strongly about my second half prediction that I just insanely made. So let's see how it goes. I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday. Thanks again for watching, and as always, let's go Mets.